Are you preparing for a sourcing manager interview? In this video, we'll go through the most frequently asked sourcing interview questions, covering everything, all explained with real-world examples and practical insights. Let's dive in. 1. What is total cost of ownership (TCO), and how is it used in sourcing decisions? Total cost of ownership (TCO) is a comprehensive financial estimate used in sourcing and procurement to assess the complete lifecycle cost of acquiring, using, and disposing of a product or service. Unlike the traditional focus on purchase price, TCO incorporates all direct and indirect costs associated with procurement, including transportation, warehousing, installation, maintenance, quality, and end-of-life disposal. Mathematically, TCO can be expressed as below. In sourcing decisions, TCO helps managers select suppliers who deliver the lowest overall cost rather than the lowest upfront price. Example, a sourcing manager evaluating 2 suppliers for industrial pumps may find supplier A's unit price is 8% cheaper, but its energy consumption and maintenance costs are significantly higher. When these factors are included in TCO, supplier B provides a 5-year cost advantage of $20,000, making it the more cost-effective choice. 2. What is category management, and how is it applied in sourcing? Category management is a strategic approach that organizes procurement spend into groups of related goods or services called categories to leverage economies of scale, streamline supplier management, and enhance value delivery. Each category is managed as a strategic business unit, enabling sourcing managers to apply tailored strategies based on market dynamics, supplier structure, and organizational goals. The process typically follows stages such as spend analysis to understand where and how money is spent, market analysis to assess supplier capability and market maturity, strategy development to determine sourcing levers, such as consolidation, localization, or partnership, implementation and monitoring of supplier contracts and performance. Example, in a manufacturing firm, the procurement function may divide spend into categories such as raw materials, logistics, packaging, and MRO supplies. For packaging, the category manager might standardize specifications, negotiate long-term contracts, and implement supplier scorecards, achieving both cost efficiency and supply continuity. Category management thus moves procurement from a transactional role to a strategic value creation function within the organization. 3. How to develop a sourcing strategy for a new product or category. Developing a sourcing strategy for a new product or category involves aligning procurement objectives with broader business goals, such as cost optimization, innovation, or sustainability. The process integrates internal analysis, market intelligence, and risk assessment to determine the optimal sourcing model. The steps typically include internal analysis, assess spend data, product specifications, and stakeholder requirements. Market analysis, map supplier capabilities, cost structures, and geographic risks. Sourcing strategy formulation, choose between single, dual, or multiple sourcing, define make or buy decisions. Supplier selection, conduct RFI/RFQ/RFP processes based on performance and TCO evaluation. Contracting and relationship management, negotiate terms and establish performance KPIs. Example, a consumer electronics company introducing a new smartwatch might develop a sourcing strategy for lithium-ion batteries. After analyzing supplier locations and capacity, it might implement a dual sourcing strategy, one supplier in China for cost advantage and another in Europe for responsiveness and risk mitigation. This strategic alignment ensures continuity, cost-effectiveness, and agility in the supply chain. 4. Explain supplier segmentation and why it's important. Supplier segmentation is the process of classifying suppliers based on their strategic importance, spend impact, and supply risk. The most widely used model is the Kraljic matrix, which divides suppliers into 4 quadrants. Quadrant: spend impact, supply risk, supplier type, strategic, high spend impact, high supply risk. Their suppliers are key partners. Leverage: high spend impact, low supply risk. Their suppliers have competitive advantage. Bottleneck: low spend impact, high supply risk. Their suppliers are vulnerable suppliers. Routine: low spend impact, low supply risk. Their suppliers are transactional suppliers. This framework helps procurement professionals allocate time, resources, and relationship management strategies effectively. Example, in an automotive company, tire suppliers might be categorized as strategic suppliers due to their high cost and impact on performance. On the other hand, office supply vendors are routine suppliers, requiring minimal management effort. Effective supplier segmentation ensures that strategic suppliers receive collaboration and joint improvement initiatives, while routine suppliers are managed through automation and standard contracts, optimizing both efficiency and value. 5. How to evaluate supplier risk. Supplier risk evaluation assesses potential vulnerabilities that could disrupt supply continuity, increase costs, or damage quality and reputation. These risks can be financial, operational, geopolitical, environmental, or compliance-related. A structured supplier risk assessment framework involves risk identification, financial stability, delivery reliability, geopolitical exposure, ESG compliance. Risk quantification, assigning risk scores, e.g. 1 to 5 scale, for each factor. Risk mitigation, developing contingency plans, backup suppliers, and contractual safeguards. A simplified supplier risk score SRS can be calculated as formula below. Example, if a supplier in a politically unstable region has a high geopolitical risk score, the sourcing team may mitigate by dual sourcing from another location or keeping safety stock in nearby warehouses. By quantifying supplier risk, sourcing managers make data-backed resilience decisions rather than reactive judgments. 6. What is should-cost modeling and why is it important? Should-cost modeling estimates the fair and expected cost of a product or service based on its constituent inputs, such as materials, labor, overhead, and profit margin. It enables sourcing managers to benchmark supplier quotations against realistic market-based cost structures. The general formula is below. Steps to build a should-cost model. Break down the product into its bill of materials, BOM. Use market indices, e.g. metal, fuel, for material cost benchmarking. Estimate labor and overhead using productivity data. At a reasonable profit margin based on industry standards. Example, when sourcing aluminum housings, if the supplier quotes $12 per unit, but the should-cost model indicates $9 based on global aluminum prices and labor rates, the buyer can initiate a fact-based negotiation, challenging excessive markups. This approach enhances transparency, fairness, and negotiation power in sourcing discussions. 7. How to calculate supplier performance metrics. Supplier performance measurement involves tracking quantitative key performance indicators, KPIs, to evaluate reliability, quality, and cost competitiveness. Common performance metrics include on-time delivery, OTD %, quality performance, defect rate, cost variance, %CV, responsiveness index, average supplier response time to queries or RFQs. Example, if a supplier delivers 480 of 500 shipments on time and has a defect rate of 0.3%, their OTD % equals 96% and quality score equals 99.7%. Such metrics feed into a supplier scorecard where weighted scores determine preferred supplier status. Monitoring supplier performance ensures continuous improvement, data-driven decision-making, and proactive supplier development. 8. Explain global sourcing versus local sourcing. When should you choose each? Global sourcing refers to procuring goods and services from international markets to achieve cost advantages, access advanced technology, or diversify the supplier base. Local sourcing, in contrast, focuses on suppliers within the domestic or regional market to prioritize agility, reliability, and sustainability. Parameter: global sourcing. Local sourcing. Primary goal: cost reduction, access to technology. Speed, flexibility, and control. Lead time: longer due to logistics and customs. Shorter and more predictable. Risk exposure: high, geopolitical, currency, transport. Lower, stable local environment. Sustainability: higher emissions due to transport. Lower environmental impact. Best for high volume, standardized products. Custom, urgent, or strategic items. Example, an apparel company may source bulk fabrics from Bangladesh, global sourcing, for cost efficiency, but purchase packaging materials from domestic suppliers, local sourcing, to reduce lead time and carbon footprint. Strategic balance: a hybrid approach combining both models often yields optimal results, global sourcing for cost leverage and local sourcing for resilience and responsiveness. So that's a wrap on the most asked technical and conceptual sourcing interview questions. If you're preparing for procurement or sourcing roles, review these concepts deeply, use real examples from your work experience, and remember, hiring managers love structured, logical answers backed by data. Comment below, which of these topics do you want me to explain in depth, should-cost modeling or supplier risk management? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more supply chain and procurement insights every week.